All right, what is up, good people? So in this video, I want to talk real quickly about 5 muscle building mistakes that I made as a beginner. I really think that if you avoid these mistakes, you can save years of your fitness transformation. So please do stick around as I teach you how to get jacked and tan. All right, just a quick introduction for those of you who may not know me. I've been lifting for about 5 years now, and I've made a pretty good transformation. I'll throw some photos up somewhere over here. And in this channel, I share tips, my journey to help you accomplish the same, hopefully in half the time or even less. So I share advice, things I've learned along the way, and I do hope they will save you a lot of time. So if that sounds interesting, please do like, comment, and subscribe. And let's dive into the video. So again, we're talking about today 5 muscle building mistakes that I made as a beginner. And please do stick around for number 5. I think that one is a little controversial, but I also think it's one of the most important ones. All right, let's dive into it. And by the way, I have some notes in front of me. So if I'm looking down at any point, I'm just looking at my notes. So number 1 that I want to talk about is program hopping, right? When I first started lifting, I think I got my routine from maybe bodybuilding.com. And they have these, workout routines. So I'm just making this name up on the fly, but usually they're named something like this. It's like, say I was doing a workout routine called 12 weeks to get a killer chest. And I'd be like, okay, I want a killer chest, so I'm going to do this workout routine. So I would go ahead and do that. I would do it for a week, do it for 2 weeks. And then a new program would come out. Maybe it's called like 12 weeks to killer arms. And then I'd be like, I think I want killer arms more than I want a killer chest, right? So then I would hop on that routine. And I would just program a hop like this all the time. And all I have to say about this is I think I saw the best progress when I stuck with a program for the long haul. I believe you can make excellent progress on a program by sticking with it for 1 year and even up to 2 years. Of course, the caveat is you do need to pick a solid workout program that incorporates like progressive overload and all these such other things. But if you do have a good workout program, I think you can stick with it for quite some time before you have to switch to a different one, right? Basically, don't get shiny object syndrome. I think it's very common for us just as human beings to get shiny object syndrome. It's definitely something I struggled with. And what I mean by shiny object syndrome is like, whenever something is new to us, it looks very appealing, right? So you see a new workout program, like, I'm going to do this, it's going to be awesome. And then you do it for like 2 weeks, and then you see another new one. And then you kind of want to, so the other new one is a shiny thing, right? And you kind of want to hop over to that one. So don't get shiny object syndrome. Stick with one workout program for the long haul. I believe you'll see great progress. Next, I want to talk about neglecting compound movements, right? When I started, I would neglect compound movements all the time. I would basically go to the gym, and I was a little bit intimidated to do compound movements because I didn't know how to do them, so I didn't want to look stupid. And also in the weight room, it was like all these big guys, and I was like this skinny little kid. So it was just intimidating to even go to kind of that side of the gym, right? So what I would do is I would just kind of hop around machines. I didn't really have a plan going in. So whatever machine looked like it was simple, easy to do, I would do that, and then I would go home. And I basically made no progress this way. I really started to grow once I incorporated compound movements. So I know compound movements, when you start doing them, right, it is a little bit difficult. You got to learn the right form and everything, and you may feel you look a little bit silly. So just to kind of hit on that point, any single time I've tried to learn a compound movements, everyone in the gym has been very helpful. I've never had like people laugh at me or anything. So I think people at the gym, very helpful, and in my experience, very nice people. So definitely don't hesitate to, start the progress of learning compound movements. And yeah, once I started incorporating these, I really started to see the muscle building effects of it. I really started to grow. I think compound movements are great bang for your buck kind of exercises, right? And by the way, if you don't know what compound movements are, basically they're exercises that hit multiple body parts at once. So deadlifts, squats, bench press, incline bench press, such exercises, right? And they are great bang for your buck because you do the one exercise and at the same time you're hitting multiple body parts, right? And you'll feel that as well. If you do just like a machine curl and you compare that with like doing a squat, there's going to be a night and day difference in the amount of fatigue you feel and just how sore you feel, right? So on the effort side of things, you also feel it. But again, I think from a muscle building point of view, they're awesome, and definitely I would incorporate them. Next thing I want to talk about, recovery neglect, right? So when I was kind of starting this whole fitness journey, right, I would focus on my training. I think training is one of the easiest things to focus on by far. And my hair keeps getting in the way. There we go. So training is one of the easiest things to, get right and do by far. Diet is, of course, a difficult aspect, and diet feeds into recovery. And sleep is a difficult and very underrated aspect, in my opinion, right? I had terrible sleep patterns for a long, long time. I would fall asleep at like 5 a.m. at like these odd times of the day. Maybe at some days I sleep for a few hours. Other days I would sleep longer because I knew sleep was important, but I didn't really have even a somewhat consistent sleep schedule. And if we look at the research on sleep in regards to fat loss and muscle gain, I think there's a lot of evidence to point to the fact that sleep is very important, right? So I would say sleep is underrated, and I would say sleep 7+ hours a night, and that should lead to pretty good recovery. Now, next thing I want to talk about is lack of progressive overload, right? The only thing to say here is track your work. So track the workouts you do, how many sets, how many reps, and aim to improve with every single workout. Of course, it's kind of unrealistic to expect to improve every single workout. If you were able to lift heavier every time you worked out, you'd be benching like whatever, 500 pounds, in 2 years or something. But the point being, always aim to improve. If you're doing roughly the same, weight, volume, everything on the first month, or excuse me, in the 6th month that you were doing in the first month, then that's a problem, right? So aim to improve, aim to get better, and I think that way you will see great gains. Next thing I want to talk about, and this is going to be a bit of a controversial one, I feel, but this is one I definitely believe at this point in my fitness journey. I did way too much intense and anger training when I first started training. So I got into this kind of fitness things mainly out of insecurity, right? I didn't like the way I looked, the way my body looked. So I was kind of not in the best place mentally when I started, right? And that led to me going to the gym and kind of taking my anger out there. So pushing every single exercise to failure, like really, really trying to go hard and like just using my anger to fuel me throughout my workout. And now when I look at it, I don't feel that's the best way to do things. I would say relax, stay calm, stay cool, calm, and collected, and go do your workout. I think there are two major benefits to this. One, I've noticed that the calmer I remain, the heavier I lift actually. The reason for this is when I was like, like all revved up and going to full of anger, trying to go do a lift, I would neglect the basics. With the bench press, like planting my feet on the ground, pulling my shoulder blades back, getting the arc, right? I would neglect the basics, and I would kind of be compromising form and proper breathing techniques. I would be neglecting like some of these things, because when you're running like kind of anger-filled thoughts in your head and trying to get pumped up, you are not as focused on getting the basics down, and that actually led to me lifting less weight. So just in that sense, it was counterproductive. Another thing that I found counterproductive about it is that it led me to have an attitude to where I didn't listen to my body, right? So if I was doing, and that's one of the reasons I actually have a lateral meniscus tear on my knee, is because I was squatting heavy, and I did feel that I should have stopped squatting, but because I was starting to feel pain. But in my head, I was like, what, are you, a coward or something? You got to push hard. And then, I ended up getting a meniscus tear on my knee, and it's affected me for 3+ years now, and it affects me to this day. So had I just not been, fueled with anger, trying to do anger training at that point, I would be at a much better position. My squat would have improved a lot more, right? Because when you get injured, you can't train. And even now, I can't squat heavy anymore. So my squat has regressed greatly, right? So I found with too much intense and anger type of training, you tend to push past those warning signs that your body gives you, telling you, hey, you need to take a step back, you need to relax, right? And when you do that, well, you're in a prime place for injury. And just to clear up kind of my whole stance on intensity training and anger training, I'm not saying never train angry, right? For a lot of us, the gym is like an outlet to let these emotions out, to let the kind of pent up energy out, and that's fine, right? But just be careful with it. I don't think having that mentality every single time you go to the gym with every single exercise, especially more injury-prone exercises like compound movements, deadlift, squats, etc. I don't think it's the best attitude to have. And in conclusion, this stuff is fairly simple, right? Eat, sleep, train right, and without a doubt, you will grow. I think sometimes our minds try to make it more complicated than it is because it's slow and it's not easy. So when you're training day in, day out, training day in, day out, maybe you did it for 1 month, maybe you did it for 4 months, maybe you did it for 6 months, and you don't really see a lot of progress, your mind is like, oh, maybe there's something wrong. Maybe there's some secret sauce I'm missing that's gonna help me, grow faster, help me get bigger faster. And the truth is, nothing is wrong. You just need to stick with the basics for longer, right? So yeah, very simple, just not easy, right? And yeah, that's been my experience in these past 5 years of my fitness journey. And those have been 5 mistakes I've made that I've learned from at this point. So I hope this video helped you out. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. Also, feel free to DM. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.